Ben lived in a small, sun-baked village that hadn't seen rain in months. The cracked earth groaned beneath the scorching sun, and the villagers' faces were etched with worry. Crops withered, animals grew weak, and water from the once bustling river had turned into a trickle. Ben, a curious and inventive boy of 12, watched helplessly as his neighbors struggled to carry heavy buckets of water from a distant well. One day, while lying under the shade of the only large tree in the village, Ben stared at the fluffy white clouds drifting lazily across the blue sky. A thought struck him like lightning. What if I could catch a cloud and bring it down to give us rain? Excited by the idea, Ben ran home and began sketching plans. He built a contraption using bamboo poles, old nets, and scraps of fabric. The device looked like a giant butterfly net. His best friend Lena watched him with skepticism, but couldn't resist his enthusiasm. "You really think this'll work?" she asked, raising an eyebrow. "It has to," Ben replied with determination. "If it doesn't, we'll find another way." The next morning, Ben and Lena climbed the tallest hill near the village. The contraption was heavy, but they took turns carrying it. Once at the top, they waited for a cloud to pass by. Hours went by, and Lena began to lose patience. "Maybe clouds don't come this low," she suggested. Just as she spoke, a large, fluffy cloud drifted closer. Ben sprang into action, waving his contraption in the air. To their amazement, the net caught part of the cloud. It clung to the fabric like mist, cool and damp. They carefully lowered the net and placed the captured cloud into a large clay pot they had brought along. After a moment, a large captured cloud fell from the sky. Back in the village, the children became the center of attention. "What are you doing with a cloud?" an old farmer asked, his tone half curious, half mocking. "We're going to make it rain," Ben declared confidently. The villagers gathered around as Ben and Lena tried various methods to coax rain out of the cloud. They poked it, shook the pot, and even sang to it. Nothing worked. Frustrated, Ben sat down, his head in his hands. "Maybe this was a silly idea," he muttered. Lena placed a hand on his shoulder. "It's not silly. You're trying to help. Maybe we're just missing something." That evening, Ben stayed up late studying the pot. He noticed that the cloud had shrunk considerably, leaving behind droplets of water at the bottom. An idea formed in his mind. "If we can't make it rain, maybe we can collect the moisture instead," he thought. The next day, Ben and Lena modified the contraption. They attached a cloth funnel beneath the net and positioned it above a large barrel. With help from the villagers, they set up the device on the hill. Over time, the net captured more clouds, and the funnel collected the condensed water into the barrel. Though the process was slow, it worked. They now had a small but steady source of water. Word spread, and neighboring villagers came to see the cloud catcher. Many brought empty containers, hoping to take water back to their homes. Initially, Ben felt proud of his invention, but as more people came, disputes broke out. Some villagers wanted to keep the water for themselves, arguing that they had helped build the device. Others insisted on sharing it with everyone. "This isn't fair," Lena said, watching the chaos. "Your invention was supposed to help people, not cause fights." Ben felt a pang of guilt. He stood up and addressed the crowd. "We can't solve the drought by fighting. The cloud catcher belongs to all of us, and the water it collects should be shared equally. But this isn't a permanent solution. We need to work together to find better ways to conserve water and grow crops that need less of it." The villagers murmured in agreement. Inspired by Ben's words, they formed a plan. They divided the water fairly, using it only for essential needs. They also built more cloud catchers, improving the design with each iteration. They planted drought-resistant crops and dug channels to capture rainwater when it did come. Months later, the rainy season finally arrived. The villagers celebrated as the parched earth drank deeply. The river swelled, and the fields turned green again. Though the cloud catchers were no longer needed, they remained on the hill as a symbol of the community's resilience and cooperation. Ben stood on the hill, watching the rain fall. Lena joined him, a grin on her face. "You really did it, cloud catcher," she teased. "We did it," Ben corrected, smiling back. The villagers had learned an important lesson. Survival depended not just on ingenuity, but also on working together and sharing resources. and Ben's dream of catching a cloud had brought them closer than ever.